Alright, Ronan MMA, welcome back to the channel. UFC Fight Night, Ciryl Gane vs. Sergei Spivac takes place tomorrow morning, afternoon, evening, depends on where you are in the world. Regardless, I'm going to go through every single fight of the night, starting with the early prelim opener, working our way up. I usually try to get through the earlier ones a little bit quicker, as usual, so I can spend more time on the co-main main event, things like this. Last fight night, I got one fight wrong, the very first fight of the night, swept the rest of the card, so hopefully we can keep the ball rolling. I have picked quite a few fairly large underdogs in this one because I thought some of the odds on these were wild, but regardless, let's get right to it. The very first fight of the night, which is FAIRN. I don't know if I'm saying that correct, but whatever, dude, versus Jacqueline Cavalcanti. Now I'm going to be going with Jacqueline Cavalcanti. The odds makers have her at a minus 375, which is massive, although kind of understandable. Zara, or however you say her name, has yet to get a win in the UFC. She got finished by both Felicia Spencer and Megan Anderson in the first round, who are not typically the kind of girls that are going to fuck you up in the first round, or at the very least, if you're any good, they shouldn't be, okay? She's 6-5, which might be the worst record in the UFC. I don't know that there's anybody on the roster, male or female, that has a straight up 50-50 record, but I am guessing that she will after this fight. Jacqueline, on the other hand, making her debut, and to be fair to Zara, her opponent, she has been fighting fairly unexperienced girls, but then to be fair again to Jacqueline Cavalcanti, she has had a very short career so far herself. She's not the most experienced. She's early on in her career, so she's finishing the girls that you would hope that she'd be able to finish. And she's only ever lost by a split decision, and I think that she manages to get a TKO from top position against Sarah FAIRN, maybe somewhere later in the second round. Moving on up the card to Farid Basharat versus Clayton Rodriguez. This is one where I'm going full underdog. They have Farid Basharat at a minus 340. That is huge and insane to me, and I understand that the Basharat brothers are very, very good. They are very technically sound, and I very much enjoy watching them fight, but Clayton Rodriguez is... I don't see him getting subbed, okay? I just don't, and I think he's got a few submissions on his record to boot. He is a very, very aggressive. He hits hard, and he's a savage, man. Like, Basharat's more technically sound, I would imagine, but in terms of explosiveness, dynamicness, I would have to go with Clayton Rodriguez. Farid Basharat, he's got some good wins in the UFC, right? His win over Damone Blackshear is definitely aged very nicely, okay? But the value that you would get from going with a guy like Farid Basharat at minus 340 is just not ideal for me. And Clayton Rodriguez is a very dangerous opponent, man. Like, he just is. He's dynamic. And so Basharat in his Blackshear fight, by the way, like, he was able to stuff Blackshear's takedowns, and he was able to land a few of his own. I think he went 50%, 6 of 3, if I'm not mistaken. He acquired a bit of ground control time, but wasn't really able to do a whole lot with it. There were no submission attempts, no nothing like that. I don't think he'd be able to just completely manhandle Clayton Rodriguez and submit him or whatever without being in some sort of danger from like a triangle, an armbar, a guillotine, any of this shit, right? And while he looked very good on the feet against Basharat, he was unable to get a finish, obviously. And Basharat or Blackshear, if there is an area in MMA of which he is lacking, it is the striking department. So I would expect a guy who's very technically sound on the feet to be able to land at a 60% clip on a guy like Damone Blackshear. I'm going to be going with Rodriguez by TKO, man. I think that he's going to come out extremely aggressive. I think he's going to hurt Farid Basharat, and I think he finishes him off. The plus 270 is honestly what pushed me over the top on this one, because I'm not going to be picking a guy at a minus 340 when he's had impressive performances in the UFC, but nothing that really fucking wows me, whereas Clayton Rodriguez has had some phenomenal finishes. Now, moving up the card to Nora Cornolli. Don't know if I'm saying that right either, versus Jocelyn Edwards. I fucking hate Jocelyn Edwards. This bitch misses weight. In her last 2 fights, both of them were split decision. If I'm not mistaken, I think the one to Ji Young Kim she should have lost, or maybe it was the one after that. I can't remember, but either way. 2 controversial decisions, okay? She's gone 3-2 in the UFC too far, so 2 of her 3 wins are controversial decisions, one of which, at least, she should have lost, okay? And she missed weight in both of those fights, so fuck you, dude. She lost to Jessica Rose Clark, my guy. Come on, dude. Nobody at this point loses to Jessica Rose Clark, okay? She hasn't gotten a finish since 2020, pre-UFC, against a girl who was 3-4, all right? Not ideal. Nora Cornolli, or Cornell, I'd have no idea, is making her debut. She's got a 100% finishing rate, which we love to see from the ladies, don't we, dude? We don't want a 15-minute boring decision. We want finishes. Now, To be fair, she is also fighting girls with unexperienced records, but that was when you saw Jocelyn Edwards getting finishes also. You don't see her getting finishes against the experienced girls with decent records. Yeah, and Jocelyn Edwards' UFC competition hasn't even they haven't even been all that great. If you look at their records, they're almost comparable to the kind of girls that Nora Cornolli is fighting with, horrible win-loss ratios and shit like that. Now I don't know that she's going to be able to finish Jocelyn Edwards. She's a big girl, a big long girl, and you know it's not necessarily easy to finish, but I do see her getting the job done. And if Jocelyn Edwards misses weight, get rid of her, dude. Get rid of her. Get gone. You can't do that 3 times in a row. It's just ridiculous. All right, you can't be doing that. And if she does miss weight, I would lean more towards a TKO on the side of Nora Cornolli than I would if she actually makes weight. So anyways, moving up to card 2, I don't know how to say this dude's name. Ange LOOSA versus Rice McKee. Ange LOOSA is a favorite. Not a huge one, minus 166. By the way, Jocelyn Edwards was a favorite, which is fucking wild to me, okay? Like, have the odds makers watched her last 2 performances? Either way, dude. Ange LOOSA versus Rice McKee. Rice McKee was a champ over in Cage Warriors, okay, making his debut. Vast majority of his wins coming by way of knockout. This has actually been his second attempt at a UFC run, which, man, to be fair, dude had a tough couple fights, okay? He had 2 fights in the UFC. His first fight was against Khamzat Chimaev, where he got TKO ground and pound. And then Alex Morono, who, while he's not like top 5 level competition or whatever, dude is a tough guy to fight. He's a tricky, crafty veteran who manages to get shit done. He's damaging in a way that is very unexpected because he doesn't look like he'd be powerful, but he definitely fucking damages his opponents more often than not. And then he went and got 3 finishes back to back to back in Cage Warriors, and now is back again. And aside from the Khamzat TKO, he's only ever been finished 1 time earlier on in his career. Chin is still there. Ange LOOSA, pretty sizable favorite, as I said, minus 166. Not a huge favorite, but he is a favorite. He's 1-1 in the UFC so far, and actually before he got to the UFC, he fought Jack Della Maddalena in the Contender Series, of which he lost a decision. So I guess the dude has a good chin. The experience for McKee is crazy considering he's only 27 years of age. This is another thing that I'm taking into consideration because not only does he have 18 pro fights, dude's got 8 amateur fights as well. Been around the block, can fight. He's only been finished a couple of times. He's good, okay? Almost all of his KOs are via his boxing. Now, this is what is leading me to pick Rice McKee. I know that was a big fucking drum roll there, but it is what it is. I'm picking Rice McKee. The reason being is because Ange LOOSA, while he could land a big shot, was unable to finish Jack Della Maddalena, was unable to land a big KO shot on Jack Della Maddalena, and lost a decision to Jack Della Maddalena, who is primarily a boxer. Leads me to believe that Ange LOOSA might have problem with some technical boxing skills of his opponents, and Rice McKee definitely has that, okay? And LOOSA, not only did he lose to Jack Della Maddalena, but he also lost to Munir Lazez, or whatever the fuck, dude, who hasn't had a whole lot of luck in the UFC himself and is also primarily a striker, okay? So I don't know that LOOSA is going to be able to deal with the technical boxing of Rice McKee. He could land a big shot and put McGee out, as I said, but since he's only been finished twice in his career, one of them was from ground and pound, I don't really see that happening. So I am going to go with Rice McKee to either get a late TKO, like late round 2, round 3, or do enough damage, land enough clean shots in the rounds to win a unanimous decision. I don't know what's going on with my throat there. I apologize for that. Anyways, moving up the card, dude. Taylor Lapilus, I don't know. Versus, oh, dude. The Irish people, dude, I love you. I am part Irish. Like a big chunk of my heritage is Irish. But what the fuck is up with your spelling, dude? I Googled it because I didn't want to be butchering this guy's name the whole time. It looks like Cowlin, but it's Quaylon, I think. If you're Irish and I'm incorrect, let me know in the comments, please. But I'm going to be calling him that because that's what fucking Google said. All right. Got another Cage Warriors champion, pardon me, in Quaylon LOUGHRAN. I don't fucking know, dude. Undefeated at that. Good mix of finishes with a decision thrown in there. Last 4 fights have came by finish. He's 27-year-old, just like the last Irish gentleman we spoke about. Also has a very extensive amateur record. Problem for me, Taylor Lapilus, whatever, dude, has a pretty wide variety of finishes. Like, he's got a sidekick finish on there. He's got some ground and pound submissions, punches, shit like this. He's actually had a UFC stint before, and oddly enough, got cut after going 3-1, which is not something that you typically see. So maybe they were just really boring fights, and Dana White had the fuck enough of him. I think that was like 8 years ago, 2015 or something like that, which bantamweight is not what it is, or not even close back then to what it is now. Do you know what I mean? A completely different fucking division now, stacked to the gills. Quaylon, I hope I'm saying his name right. I think he's going to get this one. I'm picking another underdog, dude. I'm going to go with Quaylon LOUGHRAN, however the fuck you say his name, okay? He's never been finished, only lost by decision, you know, or this is Taylor Lapilus I'm talking about here. Out of 21 pro fights, 11 of them have gone the final distance. So you're going to be on the feet with this dude who's got a ton of KOs, more than likely, for a longer period of time than a shorter period of time, which just gives him more time to find his range, land big shots. Now, Lapilus has, you know, some decent wins. He's got a win over Wilson Hayes, who was a former flyweight, though, so a smaller guy in some Aries FC, or however the fuck you say it, regardless, dude. Considering more often than not his fights go longer, I do think that Quaylon's going to be able to touch him up and get the job done. I don't know how, but I do think he will. I don't think that a guy from MMA Factory, if he can't hang on the feet with a guy like Quaylon, I don't know that he's going to be able to take him down and submit him, because that seems to be something that's lacking from that gym in general. So I'm going to be going with another underdog here, another Irishman, Quaylon LOUGHRAN. Hopefully these guys are not as annoying as Ian Gary. Moving up the card to Morgan Charrier versus Manolo ZECCHINI. Okay, zucchini. That's what I think of. I think of a fucking zucchini, dude. Makes me want stir fry. These odds are wild, man. And I'll tell you why. Charrier, whatever the fuck, dude. While he's got some phenomenal highlight KOs, and he clearly has knockout power, and he clearly has striking ability, his record is not that impressive. He's 18-9. Do you know what I mean? This is like Alex Caceres type shit. If you go through his record, you'll see like 3 win streaks, 2 loss, 3 win streaks, 2 loss, 3 win streaks, 1 loss. Like he's a little inconsistent. Also, 8 of his losses are by decision, which kind of tells me that, you know, if he's unable to land his big power shots, he might have trouble winning rounds. Tells me he might be a little bit more patient, might be one of those guys that, because he's so explosive, will gas himself out if he just keeps trying. So he waits and waits and waits, and if that opportunity never comes, then he kind of just lets a round get away from him. Do you know what I mean? His opponent is also making his debut. He's got 9 KOs, 1 sub, 1 decision. He's lost by each way once. So he's been subbed, KO'd, decision 1 time. The guys he's fighting do not have the best records also. Neither of these guys have been fighting straight up killers. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not UFC level competition, which is why it's actually tough to pick when you have 2 guys making their debut, because it's hard to judge how good the competition they're fighting is versus how good the competition their opponent's fighting, and how that's going to translate when they fight each other. I am going to be going with Morgan Charrier by KO/TKO. I'm not overly confident, though, considering he's a minus 355. They've got Manolo Zucchini at fucking a plus 280. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a huge number. That's a very large favorite. And again, I know that he's looked good as of late. He's got 2 finishes and a split decision in his last 3 fights, some highlight reel KOs and shit like that, but he is very inconsistent, and he's on a 3-fight win streak right now. And historically speaking, if you look at his record, that seems to kind of be the cap. So, you know, typically, historically, he would lose his next fight, or even his next 2 fights. But I am going to trust in him to get it done. But I would not be surprised, man. And don't let the odds fool you. Like, I would not be surprised if Manolo Zucchini is able to get the job done against Morgan Charrier. But I am going to pick Morgan Charrier to get the... Charrier, what? Dude, fuck off. By KO/TKO, moving up the card too. William Gomis versus Yannis GHEMMOURI. Okay, William Gomis, he's a good striker, but like a lot of guys... you see them getting a bunch of finishes pre-UFC, then all of a sudden they show up in the UFC and their performances don't look so good. Do you know what I mean? Hasn't gotten a finish. He's been victorious in both his fights, but if I'm not mistaken, dude, The split decision against Francis Marshall was a little iffy, and not to mention he missed weight in that fight. Also, we've got a bit of French on French violence going on right here. This is strange. Okay, his opponent, Yannis GHEMMOURI, pretty impressive record, 12-1. Only one loss by way of submission. I don't think that William Gomis is going to be submitting Yannis GHEMMOURI, okay, because I just don't, okay? Because these guys, I don't know if William Gomis also trains out of MMA Lab, but I just don't see him getting a fucking submission, okay? Anyways, GHEMMOURI has also been getting some finishes over in Brave with some decisions mixed in there. He hasn't lost since 2015. Man, I'm going to go with Gomis. I don't really want to, dude. I don't really want to. But I'm gonna go with William Gomis. If he misses weight, I can see him losing this fight. But the difference for me is that he's actually fought some like UFC level competition, whereas Yannis GHEMMOURI just hasn't. And it's hard for me to, again, gauge how they're going to look against guys that are like tested in the UFC versus the guys that they're fighting outside of the UFC, because you see it on a lot of their records, man. Their opponents, their records are just not great. And it's really tricky to see who's who until they actually get here and show us what they can do against top flight competition. So I'm going to go with William Gomis. I don't think that he finishes him. I think it would be a decision. And if he misses weight, I would imagine he loses. But that's not me doing a double pick. I'm going with Gomis. But I'm just saying, if he does miss weight, or even if he has a shitty weight cut, I could see him losing this fight. Like, he's a pretty sizable favorite, 2-1 favorite. I could definitely see Yannis GHEMMOURI getting a finish on him. Anyways, moving up the card, Volkan Oezdemir versus Bogdan Guskov. Jesus Christ, dude. A lot of these are fucking tricky, man. A lot of these are tricky. Volkan Oezdemir has been on a hard run lately, but bro, dude, lost to Yuri Prohaska, Magomed Ankalaev, Nikita Krylov. I mean, Jesus Christ, dude. You can't really hold those against him a whole lot. Volkan Oezdemir, like, those are fucking hard fights, man. Whereas this guy that he's fighting has never fought anybody on that level. A Yuri Prohaska, a Magomed Ankalaev. By the way, the only guy that was able to finish him out of Nikita Krylov, Magomed, and Yuri Prohaska was Yuri Prohaska. So, I mean, he went the distance with Magomed Ankalaev, who is a very good fighter, very tough individual, and has finished a lot of guys in the light heavyweight division. And this guy, Bogdan, his record's impressive, the finishing rate's impressive, all of that good stuff, but the level of competition he's fighting is just not there for me. I would imagine this guy's going to come out aggressive as fucking all get out, and I have a feeling that Volkan Oezdemir is going to be able to weather the storm, clinch up, do what he needs to do to survive the first 5 minutes, like, type thing. I think we could see Bogdan Guskov maybe blow his load a little early, and then Volkan Oezdemir is able to take over rounds 2 and rounds 3, maybe get a late finish, who knows, depending on how gassed Bogdan Guskov gets. He does have some fights that have gone the distance, if I'm not mistaken, but I just have a feeling he's going to come out there, think he can finish Volkan Oezdemir, and all of a sudden he's in the top 10. Do you know what I mean? It's a big moment for him. But just considering the guys that Ozdemir's fought, even the guys that he's lost to, I'm taking into consideration, like, I don't know that Bogdan Guskov is on the level of a Yuri Prohaska or a Magomed Ankalaev, so I'm going to trust in Volkan Oezdemir to get back in the win column. Anyways, moving up the card to Benoit, SAINT-DENIS versus Thiago Moises. I'm excited for this fight because I love watching Benoit. SAINT-DENIS fight. This dude is fucking phenomenal. The way that he finished Bonfim was insane. Insane, dude. Wild. I think I picked him to win in that fight even, but I did not think he was going to do it like that. He is good everywhere. The vast majority of his finishes come by submission. Now, that's what makes this fight a little tricky because Thiago Moises, obviously, incredible jiu-jitsu, ton of submissions. That's almost always how he wins. The thing is, though, Benoit Saint-Denis, I don't think the guy's got some fight IQ, in my opinion, and unless he proves me wrong in this fight. He's good on the feet also. I would imagine his game plan is going to be to hurt. I don't think that he's going to want to engage in the grappling with Thiago Moises until he's got Thiago Moises good and hurt, okay? So I think that he's able to hurt Thiago Moises on the feet, not engage, let him back up a couple of times, and then eventually on like the third or whatever, like I can imagine Thiago Moises taking Charles Oliveira type breaks. After a couple of those, I think that Benoit Saint-Denis, when he feels as though Thiago Moises is good and hurt, then he might jump on the ground with him, and I would imagine he goes for a TKO over a submission. But I mean, if Thiago Moises is hurt enough and something offers itself up, I wouldn't be surprised, man. I know it's Thiago Moises. I know his jiu-jitsu is incredible. His striking is just not there for me. I don't think he's going to be able to close the distance and take Benoit Saint-Denis down. I just don't think that that's going to happen. I think Benoit Saint-Denis is going to be able to do what he wants for the first little bit on the feet, hurt Thiago Moises a few times, and then eventually finish him either by submission or TKO on the ground. And that would be a phenomenal win, by the way. Thiago Moises is very underrated. He's got some very good wins. And yeah, Benoit Saint-Denis is phenomenal, man. I can't wait to watch this guy fight. So anyways, moving up the card, 2, co-main event. Benoit Fariot versus Rose Namajunas. Okay, I'm picking Benoit Fariot, if that's how you say her name, I hope. I think she's going to finish Rose Namajunas. This one was weird to me, man. Rose Namajunas moving up to flyweight is weird to me. It just is, because whenever I would look at her, I would never, like, oh, that's a huge strawweight. Do you know what I mean? Like, I never thought that. She's a little taller than some of the girls, but she's always been very slender and doesn't have a whole lot of muscle tone, and I just, like, never viewed her as somebody that I would picture moving up to flyweight. And even when she was champion, I could never see that. But she's doing it, and it is what it is. Her last performance was fucking atrocious, okay? I think Benoit Fariot, however the fuck you say it, is going to get a TKO later second round, maybe halfway through the second round. I think for the first round, Rose is going to be able to stay at range, little leg kicks, shit like this. She might try a few of those high kicks that she, like the one she landed on Wei Li, dude. I just fucking went full dyslexia there. I think she might get tagged once or twice in the first round, maybe come out with a little bit of damage, and then I think in the second round, eventually, Fariot is going to be able to catch her, hurt her, and finish her off. I don't think she's going to flatline her. You see Fariot's got a lot of standing TKOs on her record. I can see Rose Namajunas kind of like taking a knee up against the fence, and Benoit Fariot just finishes her off like that. Based on her last performance, and, you know, at the face-offs, too, for weigh-ins, Rose didn't look all that small compared to Benoit Fariot, but they're not completely hydrated yet. And on the scales, Rose Namajunas didn't look like she cut a whole lot of weight either, so I would imagine she's a little closer to her natural weight. So I would imagine when they get inside the octagon, Benoit Fariot is going to look a little bit larger than her. And, as I said, based off of the last performance, based off of her size, and not just that, her power. I know that she caught Joanna Jędrzejczyk with like that left hook or whatever. Joanna Jędrzejczyk was also a girl that cut a lot of weight. And she caught Wei Li with the head kick, but I just don't think that's going to happen. And I mean, anybody can head kick KO you. I just don't think the hands are going to be there. I don't think she's going to be able to close the distance enough to land something like that. I think she's going to want to be avoiding danger the whole time. And we even saw her like in the third round in the Jessica Andrade fight, the rematch. She almost lost that fight based on the damage that she took in those last maybe 6-7 minutes. Like, had her nose completely fucking smashed. Do you know what I mean? Rose Namajunas, her record's starting to look like shit. Now that she's not champion after that Carla Esparza performance, I don't have a whole lot of faith in her. So anyways, dude. Benoit Fariot, later second round TKO, up against the fence. Rose Namajunas takes a knee and gets finished off in that fashion. Now, Ciryl Gane versus Sergei Spivac, main event. This one's tricky for me, dude. I really wanted to pick Ciryl Gane, and the reason I want to pick Ciryl Gane is because I like watching the way he finishes people as opposed to the way that Sergei Spivac finishes people. It's just more entertaining to me. Ciryl Gane, when he is on his game and he's, doing his thing on the feet, at range, he looks phenomenal. I truly hope my kitten does not fucking jump on my keyboard right now, because that would suck. Sergei Spivac. Okay, Ciryl Gane looked phenomenal. The first time he fights a grappler, he gets submitted in 2 minutes. Okay? And that fight could have gone on for 20 minutes, and I still think he would have got submitted. The reason being, Ciryl Gane does not one-punch KO dudes. You know what I mean? He just doesn't. He needs time. He teeps you to the body. He throws it like a crescent kick. He kind of whips his fucking front leg, digs it right into your guts. He wants to break you down land at distance, chop your legs, and then once you're tired, once your body's hurt, once your legs hurt, then he moves a little bit closer and a little bit, you know what I mean? And then he finds the finishing shots. He takes a lot of time to do his work. The problem is that just, in my opinion, kind of works towards Sergei Spivac. Like, he's going to have more time to figure out how and when he needs to close the distance on you. And as I said, the first time Ciryl Gane fought a grappler, he got submitted in 2 minutes in Jon Jones. And I know that it's Jon Jones, but dude, come on, man. Insane. The problem with Sergei Spivac is that he hasn't fought anybody that really moves like Ciryl Gane, that is as fast as Ciryl Gane, that is as technically sound as Ciryl Gane, right? He's been taking out the morbidly obese of the division, the Augusto Sakai, the Derek Lewises, the fucking Tai Tuivasas, all the guys that have like a 30% body fat percentage or whatever. But the danger of a Derek Lewis or a Tai Tuivasa finishing you in the first round, in my opinion, is there because they're not trying to like technically break you down. They just want to land one big shot. And he was able to close the distance on them safely and get them down. Whereas Ciryl Gane, as I said, takes his time. He doesn't have one-punch KO power. He wants to break you down systematically, and then he wants to finish you off, like how he did Tai Tuivasa and Derek Lewis and shit like that. Fuck, dude. I'm not overly confident in this pick, but I am going to go with Sergei Spivac. I am going to. And, you know, while Tom Aspinall was able to finish Sergei, which that's like his Jon Jones essentially, right? Because as soon as he fights somebody that doesn't look like a fucking, just, you know, it's one of the guys riding around on a scooter at a Walmart, he gets finished. But one, Tom Aspinall, way better on the ground than Ciryl Gane, in my opinion, anyways. And not just that, he's way better at a closer range. So, like, in the pocket, in the clinch. Tom Aspinall's nasty with his fucking elbows and his boxing. Ciryl Gane is way more kick heavy. He does have a nice jab and a nice 1-2 and shit like that. But again, it's after 10, 15 minutes once he's broken you down. Whereas Tom Aspinall is powerful from the get-go. Much better at a close range, in the pocket, in the clinch, better on the ground, so he probably wasn't all that fearful of Sergei Spivac taking him down, whereas we've seen what happens if a grappler gets a hold of Ciryl Gane, and I just don't know that I don't know that he will have improved in that time since that Jon Jones fight, because I feel as though even the way he was talking about it after, like, he just didn't show up. I just overextended on a right hand. And it's like, yes, you did overextend on a right hand, and that was a horrible mistake. But once you got into that position, you had nothing. You had nothing. He had no idea what to do. He didn't fight the hands. He had no idea. So I don't see him being able to, let's say he takes 17 to 20 minutes to finish his opponent, right? Late round 3, round 4 type shit, to stay away from the grasp of the fucking polar bear for that long. And I feel like once Sergei Spivac is able to grab a hold of him, that's a wrap. So I'm going with Sergei Spivac. I'm not overly confident in it. If Ciryl Gane won, I wouldn't be overly upset either. But it is what it is, man. I'm going with Sergei Spivac by submission. 3rd round. Anyways, dude, that's been the picks and preview for this UFC's Fight Night in UFC Paris. Ciryl Gane versus Sergei Spivac. Like and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I will see you at the next video. Bye-bye.